All right, so the very center of my base is done. And so now I'm gonna get the right hand position to make this go a little bit easier. So I'm going to hold it with my left hand and I'm gonna do my wrapping with my right hand, okay? And then I'm going to also start developing a pattern. And my pattern may change a little bit once I get around this center point, okay? So we'll see, we'll talk about pattern. So as far as a pattern goes, actually let's talk about wrapping first. So I'm gonna wrap behind, always behind, and you're gonna notice since I'm holding it with my left and wrapping with my right hand, then I don't have to worry about wrapping that long piece and trying to get it over and around the rest of this piece here. That would be a pain if I was trying to wrap it, if I was wrapping with my left and had to keep going around that core, okay? So my goal is to make it more simple on myself by holding it with my left and wrapping from my right hand. And I always come towards myself, so I'm going over, under, away from myself, okay? So now I probably wrap that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then I'm going to bend, okay, after that fifth wrap around, I'm gonna bend, and I'm gonna go to the center point with my needle. I'm gonna take that through, and I'm gonna hold it nice and tight, and that's not an easy thing to do. And I'm gonna go around again. So I sewed once. Now I'm gonna sew through a second time so that it really holds to that center, really holds, the new piece holds really tight to the center one, okay? So then I'm gonna continue again, wrapping. So I'm gonna wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all along, keeping the green completely covering the white core so there's no core showing. And then I'm going to go through again. I went to 5, so now I'm going through that hole in the middle once, and again a second time, pulling it so it's nice and tight. And so the core that I've just wrapped is holding tight to that center, okay? So I'm gonna do that until I get all the way around one time. All right, I'm not quite finished with my once around yet, but I currently ran out of yarn. So that's another thing that I'm gonna have to learn how to do. So either I'm going to undo the knot from my needle, okay? So if I can get my fingers in there to undo the knot, great. If you can't, then certainly just take a scissors and cut off your needle from the end. Okay, and then I'm gonna trim this ending piece. I don't want it to be like too long, so I'm gonna probably have it about maybe an inch. Okay, so this piece I'm gonna trim to about maybe an inch or so. So I'm gonna trim it off just a little bit. Okay, so you can kind of see it's much shorter now. Okay, but I'm still able to hold it and put it along the core, okay, because I'm going to need to do that in just a minute. Now I can stay within the same color range, so I've got a green, slightly different from the other green that I was using, but I'm trying to stay with the same color range for the base layer until the base layer is done. Once I'm done with the base layer, then I can switch colors anytime I want. So I'm going to thread my needle again, doing the same thing, getting it prepared. And then I'm going to actually hold on to the ending of the old yarn. So I'm going to hold on to that. And I'm going to also hold on to my new end. I'll try to get this core out of the way so that it's not in the way there. So I'm going to hold my new end and my old end down together, and I'm going to wrap over both that new and old end together, and keeping the same pattern, wrapping about 5 times. And you can still see the ends hanging out because I didn't get that far in the wrapping yet, but I'm going to still sew because I've already done my pattern. So I've got 5, then wrap twice. Okay, so now I've wrapped and I've gone all the way around my base layer at least one time. So now you can see I have one row, like there's a space between where one core is and then the next core is sewed to the first one. So now my sewing is going to change a little bit. So instead of sewing back to the center, I'm actually going to sew to the first row. So I'm going to put my needle in between or like right under the core I just did, that first row I just did. And I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to do that a second time. And I want to keep my yarn in the same spot, like I want to sew close together so they're side by side, okay? And they're both going through that same spot. So when I look on the back, I'm going to see they went through the same spot, okay? So again, now I'm going to continue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my pattern. And I may notice, like, okay, so I'd be sewing pretty close, so I may modify my pattern and just go a 6th one, just so that I'm not directly on top of the row before where I sewed. But I want to make sure that I get my needle, there we go, my needle right in underneath. So it's always sewing to the row you just completed. So one row down is where I sew to.